Welcome to Bill and Rob's An Excellent Adventure. I'm Bill Tilly.
And I'm Rob Schulte. And of course, Graham is here. Hey, Graham.
Hey, how's it going?
Resident Verhoeven expert, Graham Young.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I make that no secret.
Well, and quite frankly, you introduced me to Paul Verhoeven in a way that, like, had I seen RoboCop? Yes. Had I seen or even knew really much back, we've explained that, like, we used to work at a movie shop together, but, like, I was never connecting directors to movies until I met you. And I think I just want to get this right off at the top. This is second season of 2024 Bill and Rob's plus Graham, and I've chosen the RoboCop franchise just because I had only seen RoboCop. I hadn't seen 2, 3. None of them, I believe, are connected to Paul Verhoeven in any way. But back in, 2016, his movie Elle came out. And you were like, you got to go see this. And it was playing in, like, one theater in New York. And I think I was one of 3 people in the audience. But damn, that movie was good.
And supposedly he's cooking up one right now. He joins that list of directors that are like late 70s, early 80s, like George Miller, Martin Scorsese. They're making like their best work in their twilight years.
Yeah. Man, Graham, can you just, like, before I read the back of the box, just explain why Verhoeven, like, hits you in the gut in a good way?
I don't think they're always just engaging no matter the subject matter. And
All his films?
Any director, yes.
Yeah.
And I think that any director, a good director can direct any type of film, any genre. And Paul can do that. Paul had never done a science fiction movie until RoboCop. He'd never even come close to doing anything like that before. There was nothing of RoboCop in his Dutch films, which I have to say are just as good as his American films, also his French films. But he's a person that, one of those directors where once you start the movie, you're not leaving the room. And Bill, I'm sure you... Okay, let's go through the room. Bill, who's your favorite living filmmaker?
Well, before I answer that, I'm going to take this hot
yes, please,
tinfoil helmet off.
I was just going to try to throw the ball to you because I knew that you were tortured.
Yeah, well, he had to be in character. He had to robo his way into this pod.
Yeah. And much like the character in the movie, everybody will be screaming, no, put it back on, put it back on, put it back on. You know, that's a really tough question because honestly, I've never thought of it from a filmmaker standpoint. Like, I love so many movies that trying to rank a director would be extremely difficult for me.
Yeah.
Verhoeven's definitely up there because I love his stuff. And I guess there's part of me that's still partial to, like, Ridley Scott. Yeah. Although
he's another one who's like, I think he's on the, like, going for 90 now.
Yeah, they're up there. So
that's incredible.
And I guess I'll have to admit I can't give an educated response to that other than, like, there are people whose names will give me confidence in the movie when I see it on the screen, and these type of directors are one of them. George Romero was one. Yeah. That's stuff when you see his thing, I was like, all right, this is going to be a good movie for sure. Yeah. So that was a tough loss. And then I don't know, I guess it's more of a testament to me that they make things that resonate with me, so that when I see the movie first and then go, oh, that's a so-and-so's movie, then that's what I tend to go with. Yeah, it kind of runs backwards.
And I'm a lot like Bill, you know, kind of how I explained how, Graham, you are the person who connected this to me. And, like, but, you know, looking at, you know, Verhoeven's oeuvre, Basic Instinct, Showgirls, Starship Troopers, it's like all of these films are fantastic. And so how could it not? You know, and I think
his best film is Spedder. So wait until you get into the Dutch stuff. That's where the good stuff. And The Fourth Man. Those two are incredible.
And I will say, over TikTok recently, in my algorithm, a lot of people have been talking about Starship Troopers again, and how, so many people miss the point. So many people get the point. It's almost like you've got the smug people being like, these people are so stupid that they missed the point of Starship Troopers, which is fair. I mean, when I think, Starship Troopers came out in 98. When I'm in 8th grade, did I get Starship Troopers? No. When I watched Starship Troopers again in college, yes, I really did get it. But I
still don't get it.
Oh, I just think it's cool when they blow up them bugs.
That's fun.
Hey, fun fact: my wife's son and his wife were over last night for movie night, and we watched Starship Troopers.
Ooh,
and they're in their
nice.
They're in their mid-20s. They hadn't seen it. They said, "Let's watch this." My wife hadn't seen it, and they loved the movie. And as it's going along, like, I know what the gist of it is now, and they are both ex-Marines, so they're relating to what they see on screen. But as the thing went on, I would drop in a little thing, and her son would be like, "That flag looks kind of not great," like, wait a minute, look around. I was like, "Oh yeah, this movie's kind of pro-fascist, isn't it?" Like, yeah. And as we're going along, as you're going along, and then he's like, "Wait a minute, the bugs are the good guys. We invaded the bug. Oh my god!" And the whole thing flipped right in front of my eyes, and they still loved it. They thought it was a great movie. But seeing now that Verhoeven subtext is something I think we'll talk about later. What he's able to pull off with any kind of movie is really fascinating. But yeah, and the only bad thing about it is those successes in America, like Graham, I think they overshadow his Dutch work. So I don't think a lot of us will backtrack. We tend to stay going forward.
Yeah.
And I encourage everybody to not do that. If you do find a director you like, look up their stuff and go backwards and check some stuff out, because there's a reason they're good in the first place.
Especially if they've done movies in other countries, because you're just like, how they go from one place to another and how they interpret that culture or whatever. But yeah, as far as Starship Troopers, I remember reading this interview with Paul Verhoeven, and he said that first of all, Americans don't understand irony at all. And
how ironic.
2, he wanted to show a working fascist government, and that it's only good for literally killing bugs.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever been a film since then that sort of tries to do that subversive take on.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Namely, and I bring it up a lot, but namely, 3.5 years later in 2001, right? Like, we had at least a decade of people being like, "Oh, we rah because of 9/11," and so even getting something like people were changing the titles to Jimmy Eat World albums because of 9/11, right? Like, Tenacious D changed the back of their CD because of 9/11. Like, it's so interesting that, like, how far you have to go after a national tragedy to even toy with the idea of a subversive military film.
Yeah, and I think it's a dangerous concept. And this movie, I think, is probably the kicking off point for that being popular with RoboCop, because the worst thing you can do is deny what is. Yeah. So, like, to take an image off of something because it looks like something that really happened and made people sad, I personally don't find any comfort or use in that. I'm like, these things are still things that can happen. It's the context of what it is. And, like, just like saying, watching this movie, or more like watching Starship Troopers and saying, look, a fascist government is good at running its military most times, is kind of a fact for the most part. Now, that also depends on who's running it and if they're actually good at their job. But
note, Bill held up quote fingers there. Everyone.
Yeah, good at their job for sure, which I'm not pro-fascist, but things can do what they say they're do. And just to say like, well, overall it's bad. Well, of course, overall it can be bad, but it still doesn't change the fact that this part can be good at what it sets out to do. And if you build a story around that part and kind of shove the other stuff off to the side, that's what's great about Troopers is it sneaks up behind you and goes, look at that. And you can still tell an interesting story and get people thinking about what they just saw. Just like my stepson and his wife, they were halfway through that movie before it started to dawn on them. And the more it dawned on them, the more intently they watched this movie and just dug their eyeballs into it, looking for what was going to happen. And I don't think that is a bad thing. I think that's the sign of a good storyteller and director.
And I'm in 8th grade just watching Starship Troopers go, they're showering together.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Verhoeven's really good at that.
As long as you have a never-ending war to feed that type of government, and so when you run out of enemies on Earth, you would start to look for enemies outside to keep that going. And so there's always an enemy. There's always a cause.
Well, speaking of war, let's talk about the war on crime. In 1987's RoboCop. And I provided the back of the box for all of us that I would love to read. Definitely not dusty. This thing is kept in pristine condition. I've rubbed it with oil and kept it shiny for all of the lights. And maybe a little bit of steel wool just to give it a little bit of texture. And it goes a little something like this. He's RoboCop. And in the near future, he's law enforcement's only hope. A sadistic crime wave is sweeping across America. In old Detroit, the situation is so bad a private corporation, Security Concepts, Inc., has assumed control of the police force. The executives at the company think they have the answer, until the enforcement droid they create kills one of their own. Then an ambitious young executive seizes the opportunity. He and his research team create a law enforcement cyborg from the body of a slain officer. They program RoboCop to 1. Serve the public trust. 2. Uphold the law. 3. Protect the innocent. All goes well at first. RoboCop stops every sleazeball he encounters with deadly piercing and sometimes gruesome accuracy. But there are forces on the street and within Security Concepts itself that will stop at nothing to see this super cyborg violently eliminated. Prepare yourself for non-stop action and adventure in one of the most explosive sci-fi stories you'll ever witness. RoboCop. Now, OCP is what it's called in the film, but this says Security Concepts, Inc.
Yeah, the back of the box, that's Bob Morton's division within OCP.
Thank you, Bill. That's exactly what... Yeah. You speak that RoboCop language.
I can't imagine what could possibly have just shown a few minutes ago why I would know that. But yeah.
Watch the video to this episode, everyone, by the way.
And I'll tell you, I love the name of the company, OCP, Omni Consumer Products. It's just, as an adult, you go, okay, that's the ultimate corporate monopoly thing to show on screen is Omni, everything. Yeah. Consumers, like, we just make everything and you buy everything from us.
Acme.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I watched RoboCop, guys, just so you know. I think it's been within probably 10 years, but for some reason I hadn't come back to it in a while. And then when I realized I wanted to do it for this season, months ago, I was like, well, I'm going to wait and watch it fresh. Watch the director's cut, which isn't different in terms of story. We just get a few extra gruesome scenes, which is, I feel, exactly what Verhoeven wanted. And I watched it with Mrs. Colombo, and she had never seen it, and she also enjoyed it. She did not like the extreme violence, but, to each their own. I get that. When you don't know the point the director's trying to make, sometimes it's hard to, you never want to be the person sitting next to the person being like, no, you got to watch this. You have to understand. I need to explain it to you. That's gross. You don't, you have to let them fall into it on their own. And she's got a Letterboxd account, and she was like, wow, everyone I follow is rated RoboCop at least 4.5 to 5 stars. And I was like, yeah. She's like, And then like she set the phone down and was like intense on it. So I think you do need a little nudge sometimes when it doesn't feel like it's your piece of cake. But I think that like they talk about this in the documentary, Graham, that your Letterboxd profile pulls a lot of quotes from for your review of RoboCop, Flesh and Steel. And
yeah, it's a great.
Yeah, so many people passed on the movie because they can't get through the title, RoboCop.
Yeah.
But that's what, like, I love that sort of thing where like you think it's going to be exactly one thing and it's not. And to the point, like this is a renegade cop story. Like on the surface, you know, wash, rinse, repeat, great story. But when you start digging a little deeper is when you start picking at the scab, it becomes a lot more fun. And speaking of scabs, we'll talk more about that in RoboCop 2.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, where he's blue for some reason. But we should get into our RoboCop, not even part 1, just RoboCop. Fun facts, which of course we got to call prime directives, right? Bill, I'm going to go first on this one. And I would like to start with something that came from an interview I saw that Peter Weller did, I believe, at a Draft House event. And he said he's been chastised. Like this was a fairly recent interview, like within the late or the mid 2000s, 2010s. Peter Weller said he was chastised for complaining about his suit movements, and he recognizes that. Like he was grumpy and everything on set, but he has been vindicated because originally RoboCop, I didn't know this, was supposed to be like swift and nimble and almost like a ninja robot. And Peter went through a long session of like martial arts training and mime training and all this sort of stuff to get like what would a robot ninja cyborg do. And then when the suit arrived on the first day and it was not that and he could barely move in it, he didn't know if he was going to be able to do it. He was like, I've trained for one thing and now you've sent me this other. So in the end, the suit concept was never ready, like the original suit concept, and it was just delivered, get into it, take 7 hours or whatever, and felt unusable like the first one. So now when they changed the nature, how they were going to approach RoboCop, how Peter Weller was going to approach RoboCop, the quote was, "This is now a Frankenstein monster." And so he retrained with the mime coach and figured out, how do I now turn RoboCop into Frankenstein? And I thought that was really, really awesome because you do, like the first things you look up, it's like, everyone hated this. Like Peter Weller was like so angry the whole time, but it's like, well, yeah, if you think you're going to get one thing and train for months for that, and then they're like, hey, welcome to not that, it makes sense. But I loved, and we can link to the video of the interview if anyone wants it, but I love how he like totally takes ownership in this interview for being like, yeah, I was probably a pain in the ass to work with because like this sucked, but I like what came out of it.
Yeah, it's really, this movie is a testament to the idea of you don't know what it can take to make a film. Like we consume a film an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe 3 sometimes. And we all know it takes months and months and months, but you don't always know how many months and months before anything even gets started to do something. And my fun fact is just going to dovetail off yours, Rob, because this is not a obscure movie. So I'm trying to find information in interviews is not hard. There's zillions of them out there. Trying to find something maybe a different take or somebody hasn't heard, a little difficult. So that was tough. I couldn't really find too much that was so obscure nobody's minded before. But your fact led down to one of mine. A sign of a subset of that is, yeah, everybody was tore up on this movie. And they've all admitted it. And this was a torture from start to finish, time, money, budget, everything. And almost every one of them at one point either wanted to quit or walk off the set, or some have been quoted as saying, like, I'll never write another movie again. It was so difficult and so terrible. But they stuck with it. Like Weller's thing, I found a part of that, one of those interviews that said for his unmasking scenes where he takes the helmet off, that particular prosthetic, he would come to work at 2 a.m. to start that process. And he'd be in the chair for 3.5 hours having that applied. And then they'd take a break for an hour so his makeup artist could rest and they'd meditate. And then they'd come back for like another 3 and put on the makeup on the prosthetic and then go to work. So he'd be there for 8 or 9 hours before one frame of film was shot. And then they would only get like 5 hours out of that before the thing fell apart. I mean, you think about that's your day to try and get, you're tied up in just getting ready much more than you're doing it. And that kind of dedication is amazing. And that they all powered through it. They all had the drive and were willing to make the sacrifices for this thing because they knew it was worthwhile, even if they probably didn't feel like it. And I love hearing that because those are the kind of movies that make an impact. And I think that's a sign. And maybe it's largely effects, I think, because, CG's come along, and it's made everything easier. And I'm not saying that these filmmakers and actors should suffer, but there's a drive that you lose when you don't have to really put your heart and soul into it. And Hollywood could use more of this. And the way I would like to see it done is not really so much big budget blockbusters, but people who want to make a film that takes this kind of drive, not necessarily this genre, but this kind of drive on a smaller budget, they should be allowed to do it because these are the movies that we come back to that create the feelings that make us want to do a show like this. So I applaud everybody on this set for sucking it up and just going through absolute robo hell to get this movie made.
Well, and it's
got to go through robo hell to get to RoboCop.
Yeah,
exactly.
And, I love that like CGI has quote made things easier, yet at the same time made things more expensive. So
have you looked at the credits? Have you looked at the credits of a movie? Like I sit through the credits. Do you guys watch the credits of the movies you watch? Maybe not an old one, but a new one.
I would say probably about 25% of the time.
I have trouble just even connecting all of the things because I don't know what half the titles mean. So if I see a name, but like I will sit there and I will be like, wow, this is a lot of people for the CGI fish in grumpier old men,
Yeah.
Like,
and I don't say that as a slam because my wife has now adopted. I sit through every credit. Because if you took the time to do that movie and all you've got is your name on screen for 2 seconds, I'm giving you your moment. Because if it was me, I would want it. And it's fun for me. But Rob, that's the point. Is
Bill about to get fan letters from every best boy ever made.
Every best boy, or what did we just watch? One title was Chief of Staff to Henry Cavill for Argyle. We don't know what Chief of Staff means, but it made us laugh. So I mean, thousands of video effects people. I mean, good Lord. That's just crazy.
Graham, do you have any prime directives?
Yeah, I have a couple. I'll keep it to 2 and I'll be short.
Okay.
One of the reasons why the production was so crazy is because of the Texas heat. This movie takes place in Detroit, but it was filmed in Dallas. Paul thought that it had a futuristic skyline. All the money went into the suit, and they only had so much budget for production design that's sort of what they went with, and I think it really works. I have the joke that, you live in Texas when you watch RoboCop and you don't see Detroit, you see Dallas. So anyway, 2 is a really funny story that I watched an interview with Kurtwood Smith, and basically he was recounting this episode on set where again, English isn't Paul's first language. RoboCop was his second American film, and he was still kind of learning the American ways. And so he didn't understand that bitches is a pejorative term for a woman. And so when they have the confrontation at Bob Morgan's house, when Paul was directing this scene, he'd be like, okay, bitches come here. Okay, now I need the bitches to stand on this mark. Okay, now the bitches need to react or wait. Oh, yes, we will act, we will wait, and then the bitches will leave. And everyone was just laughing their asses off. And I guess like a crew member had to go to Paul because everyone could not even do a single take because they were like, even, you know, everyone was just in hysterics and had to explain that's not their character names. That's a bad thing that this character is calling them.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But yeah, so that I always thought that story was really, really funny.
Oh my God. And
that's great.
It just gives you more flair. Like, Verhoeven is a very charismatic, but also like big arm movement, I would say, director.
Lots of nervous energy, and yeah, he's the best. And to answer your answer it in a different way, Rob, you asked at the beginning of the podcast why he's my favorite.
Sure.
Paul sort of makes an art house mainstream film, which those things really don't exist. Beyond him, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Bill, I got to show you what I showed Graham the other day. I bought an art house film the other day, a 2-parter, Amazon Jail 1 and 2. You know, just a classic art house film.
Well, I guess we know what series 4 of 2024 is going to start off with.
Welcome to 2025, folks.
Yeah.
You are loading that to your Plex for consumption, right, Rob?
Of course. Watch it on date night. Anyway.
I'm already on shaky ground on date night.
Uh-oh. Anyway, we're going to move on from there, and I'm going to say my next little... this is a short one, but it's a fun Prime directive. You know, I think we also forget, you know, there's stop motion, there's a lot of practical effects, you know, computer stuff at the time wasn't, you know, you couldn't do a lot of things, and a lot of things were mimicked. You know, you look at Escape from New York, and the night vision computer screen is just a model with green lines painted on it, right? It's not even like, yes, we had green screen monitors at that time, but we still couldn't like put that into the film, right? That did like that tech didn't exist. Same like in Predator and whatever, like a true heat-seeking vision camera couldn't quite be done. And I think it's so fun that I guess the thermal vision shots in this movie were done by filming colored bodysuits and then putting a black light on them. I thought that was so cool. And also, awesome. Don't film my hotel bedroom with a black light while you're shooting this RoboCop film.
Heyo.
That's Amazon Jail 3.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's what that footage is for.
Bezos's
concrete
return.
Jungle.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like, my God, can you imagine an all blacklight Verhoeven film? Good Lord.
Bill, what's your other Prime directive?
So this is one people could find out, but I thought of it, at least tried to think of it in a little different way. So apparently Stephanie Zimbalist was originally cast to be Anne Lewis in this movie.
Yes.
Stephanie Zimbalist of Remington Steele fame. And I love her. I think she's great. And that blew me away because I didn't know it till I just looked this up. And she had to back out because they did season 5 of Remington Steele, called everybody back. And I thought about it because that's the same season that cost Pierce Brosnan the James Bond role in Living Daylights.
Wow.
He had it locked up. And it was a cascade because they announced that he was going to be James Bond. The studio did. NBC immediately went, oh, we're going to capitalize on this, lock them back into another half season of Remington Steele. And they were going to allot time for the movie, for the Bond movie. But the Bond producers were like, no, we're not interested in that. We want him separated from that. So cost him the role. By circumstance, cost Stephanie Zimbalist this role. So it's funny that, in a way, James Bond stopped us from seeing Stephanie Zimbalist as Anne Lewis as much as Pierce Brosnan as James Bond. Took out 2 major roles for these actors. And I'm like, man, you don't see that every day where you lose something that big. That just was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
that's I. Thanks for pointing that out because I never would have put that together.
yeah.
Remington Steele. Gosh dang it.
Yeah, I was because what he didn't do was GoldenEye 98 as well.
97,
no.
95,
97
96?
maybe?
Yeah, that was, he finally got into it with Goldeneye after that. After Remington, and they were going to do a season. They didn't even do a full season, and then they did like 6 TV movies, so basically 12 episodes. And then once they announced that he wasn't Bond anymore, all the Remington Steele patter just dropped off. So they did it all for nothing. They lost both these roles for really nothing.
Lame.
GoldenEye was 95, guys.
Oh, okay.
Wow. That is, I mean, I guess to think it's, Nintendo 64. But anyway.
I love how Rob carbon dates everything with his video game knowledge. That is so great.
To be
way to do
fair,
it.
the GoldenEye video game changed the course of video games. So
That's what I heard.
I have to have my tentpole somewhere. And plus, gentlemen, I am making my way through all of the Metal Gear games, and I am only now made it to Metal Gear Solid, which has been quite a feat. I beat both of the MSX games, which was very difficult. Anyway, moving on.
Thank you for your service, Robs.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
Dead or alive, you're playing video games with me. The next segment is, maybe some things we liked, and I'm going to call it Nice Shootin'. Graham, would you like to go first on this one?
Sure. I mean, I have a lot of stuff I like about this movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I probably watch it once every 3 or 4 months.
Ooh.
And so the movie's 2 most violent moments are kind of the same thing, but it elicits 2 different responses from the audience. And it wasn't until recently I picked up on this. So the boardroom death scene, incredibly violent, especially if you watch the uncut version. It goes on for quite some time. And it's sort of played almost for laughs, call a paramedic, clearly the guy's dead. The next horrendously violent scene that we have is the death of what's his name? Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
And that is incredibly violent, and he gets shot to hell, but it elicits a different response from the audience, that this is a terrible thing that's happening. And those scenes are almost side by side next to each other, and I don't know how he was able to do that. I thought that was really, really interesting.
Yeah, I picked up on that too. In just one point, because this is like a quasi-like for me, but in that boardroom scene when Ed 209 shoots up the executive, I love afterwards someone's like, someone call a medic.
Yeah.
No one's helping. And then everyone just moves on. It's business as usual after that.
Well, the old man says, I'm very disappointed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the old man, when they pan over, he's sitting in a chair with his fingers steepled with his face down in it, just like that. Oh my God, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah.
But it's that it's not that his executive's dead. It's just this project's in the crapper.
Yeah. No kidding. Well, Bill, what's some nice shooting in your department?
It's the feel of the movie, and I know I'm going to do these in broad strokes because there's so many things. We could sit here all day and say what we like about it, but overall, the absolute feel of this movie, and I think it'll play off a lot of what Graham just said, specifically that scene. Like the writers of this movie and Paul Verhoeven, they're on record as basically saying this is not a satire. This movie is not a political statement. It is a reflection of the world as it is and could be, and Verhoeven is just great in the fact for saying that, because he's telling a story, and because he's doing that and using what is around him and what he sees both from his perspective as somebody who doesn't live here making an American movie and being a citizen of the world, it all blends together so well to create a thing that you feel. Every theme and performance in this movie resonates on some level with everybody, because you can identify with the people that are on this screen. And that makes it so immersive. Like, the cops are being cops in a world that's just gone worse and worse. It's the things we see on the news. They're dealing with it. They're talking about it. Yeah, there's a co-ed locker room scene, but it's not mentioned. It's not pointed out, because this is Vera going, we're going to get to the world where we're going to mix everybody together.
Exactly.
And we're all in the same
Starship
boat.
Troopers.
And he does. Yeah. He linger in that scene longer, and he used it there. But like, the cops don't, when they're being humorous, it's dark humor. It's bad because they know it's bad. The executives are super yuppie speak. They're all corporate, and they're all things that we saw and imagined. And it's just, you see it all, and you can relate. And when you can relate on every character level, and if you can't even relate to being in that person's shoes, you can relate to being in the world that person exists in. The guy who robs the gas station, the poor guy behind the screen that's just trying to read his book and make $3 an hour so he can go to school. It hits on every level. And Verhoeven has said, like, when his use of violence, and I think it's not fair because he gets painted a lot with this, he just likes gore and violence, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's people who don't really study what he does. He said in the clip that I saw, he makes the violence over the top, and that's what makes it humorous. The guy getting blown away in the boardroom, it's so crazy, and you're just like, your brain's going, that could never happen that way, and it makes you laugh. But then the shock of it hits when you see what goes on afterward, and then it's like, I could see how they could care not crap about this guy. They're more worried that their program's in trouble and all their money. And it all circles back around. And I think everything in that, you get a humor, you get a laugh. And I think that breaks up what could just be a super, if we sat through this just as a satirical, cynical movie, this movie would suck. It would be so dark and hateful that you wouldn't want to watch it because you couldn't stand to look at it. But he brings in the humor, even though it's disguised, and lets you breathe along with that movie and go along with that story. And so you're there from start to finish. I was. And that's a big reason why this movie is one of my all-time favorites. And I applaud people that can create something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm right there with
agree.
you. Just jumping off of that, Bill, and Graham, I mentioned your Letterboxd review of this as well, which is a collection of quotes from the documentary. And one quote really jumped out to me, and I went back, and as I watched the documentary, I like how the quote even expands, and it's from producer Jim Davison. And he says, RoboCop is fascism for liberals. The picture has a liberal viewpoint and does it in the most violent way imaginable. And that is Verhoeven, right? That is like, you think one thing and you want to put all of your beliefs in one thing, but you forget with just like the quickest turn of cultural perspective can justify the things you hated years ago, right? And even Verhoeven in that documentary talks about how when he was making Dutch films, that he didn't really have much of a problem when there was like a right-wing government. But then the moment a left-wing government came in, they were like, well, this is to this is to that. And I mean, hell, I find myself a leftist, but I can see what happens, because that also in RoboCop is displayed by the blindness of rich people sitting around a table trying to discuss what needs to happen, right? Like, they lose complete touch with what they're actually trying to do, and they get bogged down with like the give and take. Well, okay, you want this and I'll give up this, and the negotiation involved in like just totally losing the plot, no pun intended, of like what your goal is. And I think as we see that quote and digest that quote and everything, like we as the audience want RoboCop to win, quote, but we don't care that it's in the most brutal way possible.
Yeah. He's what Paul's referred to as the American Jesus.
Yes.
And at some point, Jesus gets the gun.
Jesus gets the gun, and then RoboCop walks on water.
I think it's kind of neat when you read that quote, because I don't know if it's written down anywhere, but I had the one thought of like, there are subversive, non-liberal parts to this movie for me. There are subversive, conservative things. Because I think if you're sitting in the theater and you're a conservative, what we would call the textbook conservative that we're fed down the line when this movie's out, you could see that and go, well, look, it took corporate America to build the machine that we need to clean up the streets, because this is the only thing that can do it. Like, if you look hard enough at a thing, it might not be a lot, but I think you'll always find something that will hit your viewpoint, small or big, just because that's the world. Kind of that reverse back to what I said earlier, like, these kind of governments and things that Verhoeven has shown, like in Starship Troopers. There's a line Ironside has in that movie last night, which not a direct quote, but basically it was, war is the thing that moves people and makes change. Like, that's his stance in that movie of why this world is the way it is. That's very neo-fascist. Like, they just went to what's going to take. And in that universe, that's what it took. And that thought is in this movie. You see it in this movie, and nobody says it. And it's so much of an equalizer when you can see those viewpoints. I love it when for me, that's reality. If we're not all one thing, it's just like you can't be 100% left, just like you can't be 100% right. The balances may be super skewed, but there's truth in everything. And that was always supposed to be the point of acknowledge these truths and learn how to make them work together. And so I think that's probably a reason why a lot of the initial audience blew right past that fascism for liberals point in this movie, and why it's got so many fans on both sides of the fence.
Yeah. So true. Well, I'm just going to go with my next one because it's very quick. But then, Bill, we'll have you wrap up our likes section with your nice shooting. But we know I love 80s films. I know I love movies set in the 80s. What I think I love about RoboCop specifically is that although it's like alluded to being set sometime in the near future, it feels more like an alternative timeline of that present. Like, it doesn't like it's kind of like aliens watching the technology in the spaceship. Like, it just feels like it could still be 1987 if a few different microchips were created at a different point in time. Like, things are still very mechanical, but we just have just a number of things that were a little bit more advanced. Like, the right wires were connected to the right diodes in this timeline. I loved that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun to watch Hollywood envision the future. Yeah. It may come out dumb sometimes, but it's always fun to see what they think even 5 minutes or 20 minutes into the futures looks like. Because, you've got what you've got. So just bigger buttons, more switches, and always, though, a wall of CRT televisions. So that's got to come back.
Always a wall of CRTs. Kind of like my basement with all of these VHS tapes. Bill, you want to wrap up your nice shooting?
Yeah, mine is throwing back to an old segment on the show. It's the music in this movie. It's got Basil Polidoris. Yeah, and you know him. He's a master of what he does, and he's doing it his way. This is him probably getting into, if not, I won't even say that. He peaked early and stayed peaked, and this is just him doing his thing. He said in an interview that it took him a long time to get to the RoboCop march, and it's split. The synthesizers in it represent the mechanical part of him, and the human side is represented by a full orchestra. And that's the kind of thought that goes into something, especially the music of the movie, that always works well for me. Some people will say like the music shouldn't really be noticed. It can be great, but you shouldn't really notice that it's there. And I'm on the opposite side. I want a theme. I love it when it hits and works, because that gives me something to identify with my ears, and that's the thing that'll make me love a movie even more, because something comes up and you hum the theme and it brings you back into that and kind of makes you want to watch the movie again. So I tell you all, in a world of soundtracks that immensely sound the same from movie to movie to movie, I can't hum a single Marvel theme for a single Marvel
I was going to say
character.
the same thing.
And it's not that it's bad.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
But it's not that the music is bad. It's just it doesn't retain in my brain the way these kind of people make their, like a Basil makes his music. I want more of this.
Well, and when you say Marvel films, it's not like they have nobodies. Danny Elfman and Alan Silvestri have both recently worked with Marvel films. They are some of the best in the industry, and you can hum away to your heart's content as far as their 80s soundtracks go and 90s. But I can't hum anything from recent Marvel films.
No, and I'm sure at some point, like they have a lot of unused music. They'll reuse it. They'll pick it. I don't have a problem with it if it works, but I will tell you this, and this is a danger sign for everybody. I watched Starship Troopers last night after just watching RoboCop the night before. Polidorus does the music for Starship Troopers. Yep. You hear a lot of RoboCop. I did in Starship Troopers. This movie carries the same director, same writer, a lot of the same staff. It kind of took it away from me on this last rewatch because they were so close together. I was like, oh, so didn't care for that. But Starship Troopers wasn't a theme that, and it wasn't a theme that I remember as well as I remember Batman or Superman or this movie. And maybe that proves my point a little bit that like, oh, that's so similar to the other one, and the other one's so much better. It just went shoop and blocked it out.
Well, and I also think there's a little bit of like when we watch these movies for the first time, right? And like there could be kids out there who are 12 watching Captain America who are going to be humming that when they're 45 just because they watch Captain America once a year until they're 45. But I get what you're saying, Bill, that like some songs have a hook and some songs don't at the very baseline level of this.
Oh, I was going to say real quickly, I know we're talking RoboCop, but as far as Starship Troopers go, Bill, the woman that sings during the graduation, like their prom or whatever, that's Basil's daughter.
Oh, cool.
Just a quick little trivia for you.
Hey, I have no problem with nepotism as long as the nepotism is good.
Yeah, I mean, she's great.
Yeah.
It's a really, really great. I took my wife to our senior prom with her, and we're sitting there. I was like, our prom didn't look like that. And she's like, are you saying you had a problem with prom? I was like, no. There's no Siskel. That's the thing, like Rob said, don't talk to them. Just let them figure it out on their own. You get in trouble.
Yeah. Well, speaking of getting into trouble, I think, gentlemen, we need to stay out of trouble while discussing the things we might have disliked about this film. It's tough, I know. I'm going to go first just to set the tone. I've got a couple of things here. I'd like to start with, and maybe this gets cleared up in part 2. I haven't finished watching part 2. Are we supposed to like the old man at the end of this film just because he fires the bad guy? Like it sets to like, what's your name, officer, or whatever, and it just is like all of this bad stuff happens that we've talked about. The old man fires Dick Jones, Ronnie Cox's character, and then we're kind of like, hey, good for him. But you think about it for 2 more seconds and you're like, oh wait, no, he sucks too. So who knows? But I kind of like that too. I am grasping at straws for dislikes in this movie.
Detroit finally has a hero, but there's still this dark, evil cloud. Yeah. The old man can be sort of charming at times. That's how he became so powerful.
I love the end of this movie for that very reason, just because it's so abrupt. And I think we probably all know and found out that they had other scenes shot to do at the end of this movie. And I'm glad they didn't use them to try and tie up some loose ends, because it just plop. He kills Dick Jones. The movie kind of ends, and then you're left with like, oh my God, what happened? And you think, well, you killed an executive, but there's 100 billion more of them, and this old man's one of them. So the fight goes on. So it's not a downer, but RoboCop's on the job, which makes you feel good. But I didn't feel anything more for the old man at the end, just because like he's saving his own skin. I think it's the fact that Dan O'Hurley, he plays this part so freaking well. Like,
Yeah.
you kind of like him despite yourself, just because when he's on screen, he just steals that boardroom so much that they didn't give him a name. He's just the old man in the script. It's great. I totally love it. You picked up on that, Rob.
We used to call the old man names at times, like Boner.
Oh my God. Is that not the worst? Who wrote that?
Used to call the old man Boner.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Ronnie Cox is trying to say this line. I think it's got to be the one part of the script where I'm like, geez, guys, that's the best you could do for insults? And then he ends it with, but there was always respect. Like,
Yeah.
kind of like somebody that says no offense right before they completely offend you.
I'm sorry, but as Tom Sandoval would say. Now, Bill, is there anything that you disliked in this film?
Yeah, there's a plot point. So when RoboCop goes online for the first time and he leaves and he's doing all his stuff, he comes up on the scene with the hostage situation. And then my first thought was like, they're going crazy. The SWAT team's there. They're doing all this stuff. And then like RoboCop just drives through the police barricade slowly, gets out of his car, and just kind of walks up and assumes command of the situation. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this not his first night out? He's been on duty like 4 hours. And everybody's just like, what are you doing here? Okay, well, fine, whatever you want. And I'm like, did they issue a police-wide city announcement when he went online that he was coming out and that whatever he says goes? Like, who gave him total authority? Why?
Who's going to tell him no?
Yeah, that's another
Granted, but
Who's
why
going to
isn't
say no, RoboCop? You can't do that.
Yeah, but why isn't everybody just terrified when they had to know who he was, because like all of a sudden there's this mandroid clomping onto the screen. Why don't they just start shooting at him? They don't know what the hell that is. It's just weird. It's a weird something happened off screen, I have to believe, but I needed to know about it. I wish there had been an all points announcement while he was driving his car. They're like, attention all officers, RoboCop's on the job or something.
You must
or another
bow down to
newsreel
him.
clip that like
Oh God, the
celebrates
newsreels.
this Robo. Yeah.
The journalist in me just lovingly looks at the screen every time the newsreels come on. They're so everything we didn't want to be.
Graham,
And
is
they
there
come back
anything
in
that
the
you'd
sequel.
like? Oh, yes, they do. Graham, is there anything that you would like to stay out of trouble with?
You know, I'm going to stay out of trouble and say I don't have any trouble with this film. I mean, like, I was racking my brain trying to think of something that I don't like about this movie, and I can't think of really anything. And so I wanted to kind of throw in something that as a kid maybe I kind of thought was lame, but now I just think it's cool.
Oh, go ahead.
Lots of people get thrown through windows in this movie.
Yeah.
And
Defenestrated.
they use the same sound effect each time. Like Clarence Bodiger gets thrown through glass like 4 times in one scene. He's like throwing him in an office, out of the office, and it's all the same sound effect. And that's cool. I'm not complaining about that. As a kid, I was like, that's kind of lame. But no, I can't. I have no beefs with the movie. That's the only thing I could come up with.
I love that. And we don't get the, what is that? The Howie scream or whatever?
The Wilhelm scream?
Yeah.
Well, there's Wilhelm and Howie, but Wilhelm is what I meant.
Wilhelm.
You're right. Wilhelm.
Wilhelm.
Ah.
I've never heard of the Howie scream.
I think the Howie scream is actually more popular, but everyone just attributes it to the Wilhelm scream.
Oh, well, the Wilhelm scream is very distinctive. I must hear this Howie scream that you speak of.
Okay. Rob Adler, let's throw in the Howie
Lincoln
scream.
Comets.
The other thing that I'm trying to stay out of trouble here, guys, and I'm just gonna say I think there are some slight pacing issues. Not a lot, and most of it's towards the beginning of the movie. Not even the beginning of the movie, like the 2/3 portion before we get to like Prime Directive 4 sort of stuff. But like, it's nothing I'm losing sleep over. I just feel like maybe there's just a couple of things that could have been tightened up, but I really am even struggling now to point out exactly when that is.
Yeah, this is a carefully constructed film, and everything kind of fits in like a a jigsaw puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
kind of almost right where it needs to be. It's sleek, it's efficient. The movie is a RoboCop itself.
Oh, yes.
It is
But
a
Bill-
Teflon movie.
Yes.
Bill, did you have any other dislikes? Anything you want to try
I
and
do.
stay out of trouble?
I do have one actual dislike. It's the Murphy and Lewis choosing to go after the gang alone idea.
Dumb.
Yeah.
It's dumb. It's unnecessary. And it's the crux of the movie. It has to happen, but we all know a couple of real cops are going to hang back. They know where they're at. They're going to wait for backup no matter how long it takes, because 2 against 7 or 8 is just ludicrous in this situation. And it just seems reckless and dumb. Like the way out of it for me would have been if they had taken a hostage and they feel like they have to go in now or this hostage is going to get killed. Like if it's
Add
a
some
kid or a
urgency
person.
to it.
yeah.
Some kind of urgency is needed to cause this to happen, because just going in and getting blasted, and the fact that like Lewis just gets knocked over. She doesn't get killed because she has to not be, but Murphy just gets exploded all over the place. And it's not well put together. The sequence where he gets it is a masterpiece of visceral awfulness, but the moments leading up to it, not a fan of. And it's really the only real point in the movie where I have an actual gripe, and that's it. The rest, like you, the rest is not even worth talking about.
Yeah.
From
I
a
think,
screenwriter's point of view, I think that what Ed Neumeier was going for, and again, I totally see your point, Bill, is like he's the rookie on the Detroit police squad and he feels he has to prove himself. I think that's the logic of the screenwriter. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but that's sort of the logic that I see writing screenplays myself. That's probably what he was thinking.
yeah.
Fair enough.
And 2 things that I think your point brings up a couple of like just thoughts of mine, because I agree. Stupid decision for these 2 cops to do.
Dumb.
It gives us a glimpse at like how the cops operate in New Detroit, right? Like a crime, there's so much crime that it's called in. We almost want to race to take it ourselves because we're so proud to be like busting crime in a future time. And so much so that we're not even seeing the forest for the trees. Like, this is a bad decision. We're in a race on the highway where they're firing rockets at us as well as going in outnumbered. Okay. Second, Graham, you brought up the idea of Murphy being a rookie cop, and you're right. He's a rookie to that force, but it almost totally passed me until I was rewatching some scenes that like Omnicorp or the Special Victims Unit or whatever it's called, were actively transferring people to this police department in order to get a victim for the RoboCop project. And I was like, oh, damn. Like,
Lamb to the slaughter.
Yeah, you could miss 3 lines of dialogue and not think that, not that you're saying that, Graham, but like one could not think that Murphy was as good a cop as he was and think that like, oh, I'm new to the force. If you just miss a couple of things that like, oh no, they are intentionally, like you said, leading lambs to
Setting
the
them
slaughter.
up.
Yeah. Damn.
I thought of one other quick thing I have a beef with this movie, and I'm really searching here because again, this is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I'm right there with you.
When's the last time you purchased cocaine out of a scientific test tube?
Yeah. Never?
It's like that factory scene is hilarious.
Yeah.
There is so much spillage on that assembly line. This is the most inefficient operation I've ever seen.
It's just like, so I want to see like people on the streets like buying coke in test tubes.
Yeah. It's the future, man. It's the future. But you know what isn't the future? Actually, it is the future. It's the future of this podcast where we move into what we think is an amusing moment, something that gave us a little grin, a little smirk under our visor. and it's called Ain't Nothing Free. And I'll go first, as I have done occasionally throughout this RoboCop recording. They loaded Ed 209 with live ammunition for a demonstration. It is wild. And it almost reminds me of like, they would televise in Kansas City. I remember this big thing. They were imploding a building. They were bringing it down. And they were like, it's big news. We've got this new tech where we need to take this, but like, let alone the fact that like we're destroying a piece of our city because we need to do something else. And it's all going to be taxpayer dollars. They really like pushed us in the propaganda that's like, but look at this new tech. We can destroy it from the inside and no rubble will go anywhere else, as if there wasn't any other repurposed use you could do for this or a better use of time and money and everything. That's what it made me remember, this Ed 209 scene. Like, we've got this great demonstration. Look at this. We've done so much. We've also even loaded it with real bullets. It's so silly.
It's such corporate hubris is what it is. It's like nothing can go wrong. We just got to go 100% live fire on this thing. It's going to be fine.
Yeah. What about you, Bill? What's an amusing moment that you would like to talk about?
This is my HGTV moment for RoboCop. When Murphy goes back to his old house, he's getting his memories back. He goes back, he opens the door. I do love the fact that there's a robot realtor kiosk in every room. That alone, I could watch a movie about. But he goes inside and he's kind of walking through, and the place is a dump. It's messy. There are dead plants everywhere. There's trash. There's a broken coffee cup. For some reason, there are burned family photos laying on the counter, and my brain's like, did his wife burn these? Why did she burn the photos of her? Did she secretly hate him, and maybe she's in bed with Omnicorp and sent him out? I just don't get it. Like, this real estate company sucks at staging. We all know you've got to stage to sell everybody. Come on.
Bad staging. They didn't even have any IKEA furniture in there.
Nope.
Graham, what's one of your ain't nothing frees?
As far as that apartment goes, I understand that Paul wanted the original script to have an affair between Murphy and Lois. And I think maybe the burning of the pictures is not only that her husband is gone, but that she had learned of the affair after his passing, but that just wasn't filmed, or they sort of threw it away, but they had to use the scene anyway. That's probably my explanation. I feel like I'm just making defending the movie unnecessarily, but I think that's where they were going with that.
Okay, and that is amusing to think that there's like this whole other plot line that just was like, nah, let's just keep it to the robot cop.
If that was a thing, I'm glad they did what they did.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines that doesn't get talked about enough, and so when we do our next episode, this is kind of one of my major beefs with part 2. But I absolutely love the line where both RoboCop and Lois are like mortally wounded, and Lois says, "Murphy, I'm a mess."
Graham, you're saying
Murphy
Lois,
says,
and it's Lewis.
I think I said Lewis the first time. I said Lois the second and third time. It's Lewis. Sorry.
He's made a correction, everyone. Don't come for him, okay?
He's good.
You can't come after me on social media because I'm not on social media.
And I did it out of love and respect. I did it a nice way. So there you go. Everybody do that.
Well,
learn from Bill, everyone.
That's all I'm saying.
But she says, Murphy, I'm a mess. And he says, don't worry, they can fix you.
Ooh.
And that should have been RoboCop 2, sort of Murphy ushering Lewis into the cyborg world.
Bride of RoboCop?
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, what should have been. Also, like, when RoboCop takes the mask off in the third act, and he keeps it off because he chooses his human side. In part 2, they immediately go back to the old RoboCop look. You know, I wish they would have stayed with, but we'll get to that. Sorry.
We'll get there. With a very special guest coming on episode 2. So be on the lookout, folks. My other amusing moment that I'm saying ain't for free, ain't nothing free. And Bill, you might have to help me out here. Was there ever a time you could go to a gun store and buy a rocket launcher? Now, I get that this is set in a dystopian future, but between this movie and Commando, it feels like it was a possibility at some point in the 80s.
I hope that you're asking me that question because I'm so much older than you, Rob, and not that I have specific rocket launcher buying knowledge.
Hey, maybe a little bit of both. You never know. You got some Marines in the family too, so.
Well, I will try to answer that from a purely non-descriptive and non-incriminating way. No, I was never in a sporting goods / firearm store where a rocket launcher was on the menu. At least not publicly. You got to have that special keypad that lets you in a back room with a door that slides open.
Yeah, that red button under the desk that just lets you know where the real shit is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we see that play out in our actual future where the ability to, I could go to Kmart when I was a kid. You could buy a single shot 22 or a gun to go hunting with. They were right there locked up in the back. But, we do live in a world now where you can go get an automatic weapon off the wall. But as far as I know, luckily you're still gonna have to work for a rocket launcher. And that is an insane thought.
That's going to take a little bit of work.
Yeah. You might have to get on the dark web.
Now, do you think the background check is as long for a rocket launcher as it is for a handgun? I got to believe it's longer.
You would hope, so. But someone's lobbying against it.
You would hope so.
Bill, what's your other amusing moment?
So into the movie, when the cops finally do go on strike, we're actually just told it in the background that it's happened. And we see Boddicker and his crew, they all come out on the street and they're having fun blowing away they're all having fun blowing away their 6,000 sucks as they go down the street. But there's a line in there that one of them says, it's like, got out of jail free card. And I thought was like, did they just let every criminal in jail go when the cops went on strike? Is that why they're all on the street? Like, I get the whole random, let's immediately set every trash can on fire and break every window on the street. But like, these guys were in jail. Did they think they were going to starve or something because there's nobody in the station? Why are they on the street? Were the charges dropped because the cops were gone? This is an insane moment to me. Like, there's no reason for them to have so easily gotten out and gotten back on the show. I know we want them there because it's payback time, but I got to have a little bit explanation of this.
Who's going to be watching it?
Flounders in my brain. Well, Lewis has the line when she tells RoboCop that she went back to get his gun and stuff, that there was practically nobody in the station. Which means somebody was, apparently either not all of them went on strike or somebody was there. You'd
it is
think
kind
they
of like
would
when
have
there's
just
a government shutdown, they don't shut down everyone. Someone has to sit at a desk somewhere.
No. Yeah. It's just weird that they all just apparently walked right out the door and stole everything and went to town. Maybe OCP let them out. Maybe that's what happened.
Probably. Then those crummy OCPers. Well, gentlemen, it's come to be that time, and I think it's time to fight crime. In a future time, I'm saying that line again. I hope if anyone gets what that comes from, leave it in the comments. And
I do.
Bill, why don't you let everyone know how we like to rate these movies?
This is our patented section where we rate the movie based on itself. Nothing extra, no sequels, no prequels, no movies along the line, nothing else in the series. Since this is the first one, that's easy. Simply, how are we going to rate RoboCop, which for this series I am redubbing. I'll rent that for $1.
Nice.
So what we do is you go in a video store back in the day. There's a rack of movies there, and they might say something like 5 nights for $1. You throw down $1. You can keep it one night, keep it up to 5 nights. All depends on what you want, and that's how we do it. We've all walked into our local video store. Hopefully, it's not filled with rocket launchers and sadistic weird criminals who like to kick over cans and stuff and shoot the place up. We've seen our copy of RoboCop. You throw your buck on the counter. We've all walked out the door. How long are all of us going to keep this movie? Who would like to go? Rob, this is your series. Who goes first?
You know what? I'll go first, and then I'd like it to go to Bill, and then I think Graham should close us out.
Okay.
This is, I'm just stating it off the fact, 5 nights. I'm keeping this movie for 5 nights. Every time I watch it, I have a blast. Every time I watch it, I find something new. Every time I watch it, I feel like I could write another college film paper. Every time I watch it, I want to then share it with other people. It is wonderful. I love Paul Verhoeven. It makes me want to go watch other Paul Verhoeven movies. And I feel like, and I said this at the beginning, I feel like people think, I don't know, I have such a weird connection to the movie Elle, Graham. I think it's about around the time it came out. The subject matter is really uncomfortable, but it tells like such a unique story. And it just reminds me that every movie Verhoeven does tells such a unique story and compelling and makes you feel for every main character involved. And it is so, this one is also fun, right? I don't think I could say Elle is fun, but it is one of those things where it's not just a social commentary and not just like it's not political. It's just shining a mirror up to what's going on when it's made. And I love it, so I'm keeping it for 5 nights. How about you, Bill?
Oh, there was no question. It's 5. It's been 5 since day one. It's an incredible movie. Nothing's perfect, but this is probably the best example of a satirical yet dystopian, yet doesn't do it that way on purpose, realistic science fiction. It's everything, and it does it in such an appealing way. There are so many layers to this movie, so much interaction, so many thoughts, so much subversion. It all just rolls together. If you're a kid, robot blowing up stuff because it looks great. The effects, the suit, everything that was done, mass appeal across the board. If you're an adult, you're a thinker, you see the things that we talked about today and you have a good time with it. But no matter who you are, if you haven't somehow seen this movie, I don't rarely say this, go watch it. I can't guarantee that you'll like it, but if you think it's a certain thing and that's why you haven't watched it, go watch it, because I would be willing to bet a significant amount of OCP stock that you're probably wrong, or you'll at least find something that will make you think, oh, this movie's not what I thought it was. And even if it's just gives you a good thought and a good conversation, it'll be worth it. But I've got the movie, I've kept the movie, I've got it in every format. There's no way I'm giving this movie back at all. So 5 nights for sure.
Nice.
Nice. How about you, Graham?
I am going to get in trouble with the police because I'm not returning this. And the video store actually sends the police to my house, and every time they do that, I sneak out the back window. Yes, I could return it. Yes, I could purchase my own copy, but I like this one.
Oh, that is great.
Graham has gone off script. Graham has broken, I'd buy that for a Directive 5.
Well, I want to say thank you guys for doing a little bit extended episode for our new series, but that's what happens when there's a lot to talk about. And I gotta say thanks to Rob Adler for editing this amazing piece
thank you.
Of public consumption. Except it's not public. You should get it on the Patreon. Patrons, you know what to do. Like, comment, share this episode. If you have a friend who you think is teetering on the edge of joining Bill and Rob's and plus Graham at patreon.com/Bill and Rob's. We can't change the URL, okay, everyone? So just bear with us and send them on over. We need the support. The first round of money always goes to our editor, and after that we use it to buy our super fancy Blu-ray discs that we use while spinning our guns around and watching this movie. We do it because we like to have fun, and if we can help other people pay rent and supplement our video purchases, that's all we ask for. So patreon.com/Bill and Robs. And boys, next week we are watching RoboCop 2. And will it live up to the first? I guess we'll have to wait and find out. I will say that Mike Bedard of Cinema Singularity has agreed to join us on that, and I am really looking forward to it. Go back and listen to our episode on Garfield's Thanksgiving to hear Mike on a previous episode. But Mike has a wonderful TikTok account and Instagram account where he really breaks down things that connections in films and TV that are eye-opening and thought-provoking. So Cinema Singularity on TikTok, Mike Bedard next week. And guys, we'll see you next time on Bill and Rob's An Excellent Adventure.